Where is the... I fucking hate... How do you find the link?
I'm not sure.
Hold on. I got it.
Okay. Where did I put my phone?
Okay. I tweeted it. All right.
Oh, okay. Found it. Okay.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Robert Pattinson. This is the episode you've been waiting for, that Hannah and I have been waiting for. We saw the Batman. It came out.
Finally.
It came out.
This doesn't feel real.
It doesn't feel real. Like, I sat down in the theater and I got there really early because I went to a theater I've never been to. And I was like, what if they come on and they're like, I'm sorry, the movie really didn't come out. Like, you can't see it. Like,
literally the entire day leading up to watching it, I was like, something's gonna happen. Something's gonna prevent me from watching it.
Like, I was just like in disbelief. And then the trailer started and I went to an AMC, so there were 12 trailers. I was like, maybe it's not coming. Like, I don't know. But then it started and I was like, holy shit, this just felt so unreal that like we've been talking about it since like 2019. Like, it's I think about where I was in life when Robert Pattinson was casted and like where I am now, and I'm like, what? Like, it's just
this
really
podcast birthed from wanting to see it so bad, you know?
Yeah, like we were like, let's just do this, and by the time we go through his filmography, it'll have come out.
It'll
and
be here.
Then like it obviously didn't. Like, one of our first episodes, we were like, wow, I can't wait till October when it comes out in 2020.
That's so embarrassing.
It's really embarrassing. But, it came out. I just want to clarify that we will be talking spoilers because that's the way to talk about this movie. You gotta talk about spoilers. Like, you can obviously talk about it.
It's been out long enough, you know?
Yeah, like we gave y'all the weekend. Hannah has seen it how many times? 3. Amazing. Yes. Iconic. Love it. I have only seen it once, but that is because I have a child. Yeah. So overall thoughts. How do you feel about the movie?
Okay. So I'm pretty sure I had to after seeing it, I had to sit on it for a night because I was like, I don't want to say this and then go back on it because Spider-Man Far From Home has been my favorite comic book movie for ever since the first night of it released. Like, as soon as I got out of the theater watching that, I was like, this is my favorite of all time. So coming out of the Batman, I was like, I literally just had a religious experience. But I don't want to go on Twitter and be like, hey, this is my favorite of all time. Yeah. And then tomorrow be like, oh wait, actually, So yeah. But 3 watches in, I definitely think I've solidified that this is my favorite comic book movie of all time. It's just perfect. Literally anything that you could ask for out of a Batman movie. And just a movie, period. Because, with comic book movies, I feel like we've gotten so accustomed to, and Kenzie can't really speak to this because she doesn't watch the Marvel movies, but I think general audiences has just gotten so accustomed to the MCU and pee pee poo poo jokes all the time. Yeah. And the movies just having no real visual flair or artistry behind them. It just feels very the studio formula. And this is not that at all. And I loved just from the opening title drop and that orchestral music over it, and you just have that shot of Riddler kind of being voyeuristic and that music over it, and you can just hear him breathing, and it stays on that shot for 3 minutes. It's insane. I loved every moment of it.
I was because I haven't been to an AMC since the Nicole Kidman ad came out. So I saw it in the middle of the day. I just want to clarify, literally 2:30 p.m. The Nicole Kidman ad came on, And I was really annoyed up until that point with the audience. Like, they were loud. I haven't been to an AMC in years. I was confused. The lights were on during the trailers. I was like, what is going on? But then the lights like dimmed and I thought it was going to be the movie. And then it was the Nicole Kidman ad. And people were saying it along with the ad. And I was like,
it's gotten so popular. It's crazy.
And then people cheered. And I was like, what the heck? But then the DC logo came, or the Warner Brothers logo came up in red. And I was like, is it another commercial? Like, I'm going to kill myself. Like, but it was like the movie was starting. Yeah. I was like, good Lord. Like, but then then the DC logo came up and then it just said the Batman. And I was like, holy shit, it's like starting. And I will not lie to you, from that moment on, I was like super into it. That opening with Paul Dano as the Riddler, like, it just was so scary and so real. And I really feel like, I know openings always set the tone for a film. Clearly that's what they're meant to do. But like, I was like, this is some real stuff we're going through. Like, this is not going to be like some like I think a big part of superhero movies, and that's why I don't really like connect with them, is I'm like, there's some guy in a cape doing all this. Like, I can't take it seriously. But I think this movie did a really good job at like poking fun of it, but not in a Deadpool way, but like poking fun of it. Like, it is a man in a cape and some bat ears, I don't know, running around town pretending to be a detective that nobody knows his real identity. Like, that's really goofy. But the movie handles it really well. Like, it makes fun of it, but then it's like, no, we're serious. But not Nolan serious, but serious. And I'm like, that's the perfect, it had the perfect balance of that. But that opening scene, man, I was like, I'm scared of this guy. Like, I am scared of him. Because you knew he was going to be standing there from how long the camera was on him outside of the building. So you knew at some point he was going to be in the house or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, when he did pop up, I like jumped.
It's
but
like
I knew
straight out of a horror movie.
It really is. Like, everyone's comparing it to Zodiac and Seven, but I was like, that's like some like home invasion, like scary. Like, you know, when like you're in bed and you're like, is that something in the corner of my room? Like, I was like,
literally,
I'm gonna have that nightmare about Paul Dano. Like, it was
that
really
shot
scary.
is literally gonna stay with me for so long. It's just like the shot of when he turns off the TV and then just that like flash of light and you see him behind him. Oh, that is so terrifying.
It was so scary. And it was enough to where you're like, is this a scary movie? But it's enough, like, not enough to where you're like, I'm kind of scared. I'm not really like sure what's happening. Like,
my brother turned to me and was like, is this scary? Like, he asked me that like during that scene, and I was like, hello.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just like a really, I don't know. Like, Paul Dano was clearly perfectly casted. We'll get into that. But like, I felt really great about the movie just from there on. And then the way it transitions into the voiceover with Batman explaining to us that all these criminals are scared of what's in the shadows. And I'm like, I'm scared of the Riddler in the shadows, okay? Like,
Batman, I'm scared of the Riddler.
I wouldn't be scared of Batman. I mean, I'm not a bad guy, but like, whatever. But it was just so beautiful from the very beginning. And I was like, shit, like, I was just so into it. And the fact that the whole movie goes with the Nirvana song about what's being in the shadows, I was like, Matt Reeves, you're a genius. Like, Matt Reeves always had me like, Cloverfield is really great. Let Me In's really great. And then what he did with the last two installments of the Apes movies are like what you want from blockbusters. And I feel like those confirmed he was the best person to make this movie. But then you see the movie and you're like, no one else can ever make a Batman movie. Like,
I know, right?
I was blown away. So I saw it in IMAX, so it was very loud, like so loud.
Oh my god, I saw it
And
in Dolby, and literally this just the sound design. I'm like, if this doesn't get nominated at the Oscars, then there is like genuine, real like superhero bias because this is
yes,
one of the best like sound design, sound editing I've heard in a long time.
it was like it was loud, but it wasn't too loud, which is so hard. And I imagine it's very difficult with a lot of comic book movies, like just because there's so much going on. But like that car chase scene, I was just like, this like because you could still hear the dialogue, but you could still hear everything about the car, and it was just so wild. And so Tyler here is like, have we started thirsting yet? Let me tell you, Tyler,
We're gonna get there.
we're gonna get there. But that car chase scene, I'll get back to it. But like, and then Larry over here, only here to hear Kenzie gush over a comic book film. You came at the right time. Yeah, I loved this movie so much. I don't know. So this is a Robert
I was a little
podcast.
nervous that you weren't going
I
to
was
love it like I did.
Yeah, so okay, I went into it and I was like, I have to get over the comic book thing. Like I have to get over it. But like it didn't come across like a comic book movie. It came across like
Mm-mm.
a detective movie, but he wears a silly cape at night. Like I
His silly
I
little
think of
cape.
silly, it's like a leather cape. I'm like, what is going on? Like,
By the way, did
but
you when he falls during the like flight sequence and like he doesn't have the cape anymore, I was like, the suit looks so stupid without a cape.
because okay, so that's what I was getting at is like because it's year 2, which I really liked because I like skipping year 1. No offense to Darren Aronofsky, but like it was like okay, so he is kind of established, but he's not all the way there yet. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
still very much wearing like a makeshift costume. But what I
Yeah.
loved was Zoe's Catwoman costume was because it was just straight up a motorcycle suit, not a costume. So I felt like
Mm-hmm.
more grounded in reality versus being like this is a comic book movie. I'm also like very into dark movies, which I tweeted about, but like this is the perfect example of a movie that is dark, but you can still see absolutely everything. You're not
Yeah.
like squinting, like begging to turn the brightness up. Like I love Ozark, but let me tell you, I turn the brightness up all the way on my TV because I can't see anything. Like, it was I mean, and that's part of it is the cinematography, which like it's just I don't even
Might
know what
be
to
a
say about
contender for the prettiest movie I've ever seen. Like, it is
it because
insane.
like it's so dark, but you can see everything. But it's beautiful, and I think like those LED screens just life changing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
The
know I saw
Mando
some
technology.
yeah, I saw some tweet that was like, well, when Christian Bale did it, he hung off a balcony, and I'm like, okay, that's not really safe, and that's not like,
That's
is
like
that worth
insane.
it?
I hate that argument because people are like, "Oh, if Tom Cruise can do it," and I'm like, Tom Cruise is literally like an insane person for what he does.
Yeah,
Like that
like
shouldn't be like what's expected of everybody else.
that isn't like the blueprint. Like that's like we're over here like is he mentally okay that he wants to do this every movie? Like I love the LED screen so much. Like it was so beautiful every time they were on that rooftop and it just
Hmm.
like really paid off. And then I can't wait to see this movie again because I want to see the car chase scene again because sometimes the camera was in places I would have never expected to see the camera placed in a car chase and it just insanely paid off because that scene is just it's so crazy it's in like the first trailer I'm pretty sure but it
Yeah.
is nowhere near what you think it's going to be. Like it is when the car starts I was like the whole theater was shaking first off. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, like that's a crazy car. But then it just kept going. And I was like, what is this car? Like, and I read an interview that Matt Reeves was like, I wanted it to be like a wild animal. And I'm like, it was. Like, I was
Yeah.
terrified
It was
it
like
was going to grow
a
teeth and kill
character, it
me.
truly
Yeah.
was. Like I was like, that is
Hated
like a villain in and of itself, is that fucking
it
car.
really was. Like, it was scary. Like, oh, I loved it. But so we're gonna get to what Tyler brought up. We're gonna start thirsting. Let's talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Robert Pattinson.
Oh
I
man.
okay, so I have a picture to show you. This
Yes, this is the
fucking
one.
scene. And if you are listening to this as an audio, I'm showing a picture of Robert Pattinson in a t-shirt and some sunglasses. And
It's the scene where Alfred's like, "Hey, here's some fresh berries." That's the scene we're talking about.
okay, so literally, like, because he comes into the scene and he's wearing a t-shirt, and I was like, oh shit! Like, not only is he emo boy, like not wearing makeup, but like just the hair, he just looks so pale.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in a t-shirt, and I couldn't tell what was on it because I was just so distracted, but it has something on it, like a graphic. And Alfred's like, here's some fresh berries. I'm like, this guy doesn't want fresh berries. Like, what are you talking about? And then he puts his
He wants to sit
sunglasses
in his room
on.
and cry and watch Nirvana. Oh my god. When he did that, I was like, the Edward Cullenification of Bruce Wayne is very strong right now.
It was just like, oh, I gasped. I was like, I cannot believe what I'm seeing. Like,
He like literally hissed at the light.
I love him. I would do anything for him. I would die for him. I love him so much. The sunglass moment. Because okay, so the sunglass moment that you get like in the previews ahead of the movie, I was like, that's so sexy. But this was way sexier, and I'm so glad they did not put it in a trailer. Like, I don't know who took this photo that I showed. It's clearly taken off a theater screen. I mean, it's really messed up to think of that, but thank you. Because so
we all needed to have it.
Yeah, like my emo phase growing up went on way too long. So like emo boys just mean way too much to me. So like when that happened, I was like, thank you, Matt Reeves. Thank you. Like
Matt Reeves sees us, truly.
I loved it so much. I want those sunglasses also.
Oh, I know, right? They're so cool.
They're so cool. But that was a great scene on top of that because like so Alfred's like the accountant's coming and Rob's like here and he's all angry and I was like he is super sexy and then like he puts the sunglasses on. I'm like that's just I don't even know what
this
to say
is the moment.
This is the moment. This is the climax of the movie to me. Tyler is so funny. Bruce definitely intends emo.
It's true. It's true.
Larry over here, has her emo phase really ever left us though? It hasn't. It never will.
No. Obviously, if we're thirsting over Robert Pattinson in the Batman, no, it hasn't.
It was really overwhelming. I think for me, I know everyone's gonna say the shirtless scene was the sexiest scene. Or
I have a lot to say.
or one of the scenes with Zoe, Miss Selena Kyle. When he's like, what does he say? I need to see it again.
The moment that I think of is when he's trying to look at the contacts in her eyes and he just like grabs her chin and he's like, look at me. And like just looks at her. I had to like suppress moans in the theater. Truly. During like the shirtless scene too, I was like, it went on for so much longer than I thought it would. Because I thought it was just gonna be that shot that we saw in the trailers of him just like, obviously the shot like you gotta always have like the shirtless moment where we show off our main guys workout regimen, but this like kept going and I was like, oh my god, Matt Reeves. I was like, what are you doing?
Because towards the beginning there's a scene where he's shirtless but he puts his shirt on right away and I was like maybe that was it and they just put that other shot in the trailer.
Yeah.
So we had it. But then further on in the movie, he's like shirtless for it's like 8 minutes or something. I was like, so okay. Like, this is awesome. Like, you got me. But okay, and then there's another thing he says to Selena. It's like later where he's like, don't do anything without me or something. And I was like, and he like grabs her arm. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like yeah, Larry is over here. Selena's stronger than me because I would not be climbing off that Batman. Like,
right?
You couldn't pay me to leave that situation. Like
that scene of him like holding her when that guy came in the mayor's house and like he's just like holding her and she's like trying to like calm down. I was like, I would have been like, hold me longer, please.
He's still here. He's still here. He's just
Yeah,
being quiet.
literally.
Like the way he grabs her too, I was like, this is really sexual, and you guys
Right?
just met. Like, it was for a movie that doesn't have a sex scene, I was like, it very much is a sexual movie. Like,
And I
talk
think
about
that's
sexual
so
tension.
intentional. Also, I mean, like,
For
him kind of,
sure.
like, breaking boundaries because he's such, like, a recluse and, like, is so, like, socially,
Mhm.
like, inept, because I don't think that anyone else would have, like, held her that way if, like, they're in that situation. It's
Yeah.
just he, like, doesn't know how to I don't think that this Bruce Wayne has ever felt the touch of a woman, but
So, okay,
I
that's what
think that he
someone
is so,
mentioned
you
to
know.
me. They were like, he definitely has not had sex. And I was like, I don't know, maybe.
I'm of the opinion that he hasn't.
I so you think his first time, do you think him and Selena had sex?
No, not yet. I think that I don't know. Because what
'Cause
I'm like,
I
the parallels that I'm making to it is Matt Murdock and Elektra, which is like stuff in Daredevil. They have like the same kind of relationship that him and Selena do, but it's much more, I guess, like fueled by lust than
yes,
Batcat. Batcat is very much like Bruce just sees Selena, as someone that he can help and prevent her from, crossing that line. Obviously, we have a whole scene of it in the movie, which is probably my favorite scene in the movie. But I think that like when Selena goes away to I forgot the name of where she goes at the end, but when she goes there, I think that that's when she's gonna like develop the like Catwoman persona and really like find herself. And then when she comes back, then maybe we'll have like that like kind of like lustful relationship.
interesting. Yeah, Tyler, I agree. I do also want to suddenly become a criminal in Gotham. And Larry like seconds it. I'm ready to wreck some shit up in Gotham. Come get me. Oh my gosh. Hey Leo, look at us talking
Hey
about comic book
Leo.
movies. But yeah, so I don't think they've had sex, but I get the feeling that he has had sex. Just not with like a
Mm,
girlfriend.
okay.
I just don't think he can be like that and
I
be okay. I don't like
I
saying
could
this
see
word, but I
that.
just don't think he's like that and a virgin. Like I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it.
I don't know.
But
It's just
yeah,
that
I can't
line where he's
wait.
like, I don't have time for anything other than being Batman. I was like, I don't know if I could like see him making time to have sex.
But maybe it was before he was Batman
Mm-hmm.
because he was
Yeah.
probably a terrible teenager. Like
Oh
terrible.
yeah.
And I don't believe a billionaire like went cuz Alfred brings up that he's running out of money and I'm like it's probably because he went through not like a playboy phase but like a party phase.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know?
That would make
So
sense if like we were like told like he has like a past of maybe like being a drophead or something, you know?
yeah. Yes, Leo, the sexual tension. It's just like, it's so overwhelming. It was my favorite part of the movie. I won't lie to you. So, sexiest look of Rob's. Is it the bat suit? Is it the t shirt? Is it no shirt?
Mm.
The thing about
I
the
think
bat suit is it's the towering over all of the police officers and being like super
mhm.
intimidating. That was very sexy to me.
Mhm.
Like, okay, Tyler. Tyler, does he keep the Batman cowl on during sex or what?
I would let him.
I would let him. I'd be like, yeah, sure. I mean, like the eyeliner is a bit much in the cowl. I want to know what kind of eyeliner it is because in the way he applies it,
Yeah.
because it does not come off in the rain.
Yeah.
Like it
It
smudges
definitely
under
he's
the
definitely using
cowl.
some like setting spray or,
Can you
black
imagine
eyeshadow
like them
over.
doing a scene where they show him doing it? Like, how did he learn the parameters of like where to put it and where to
I need to
stop?
see him making a trip to Ulta and,
Oh my gosh, like Vogue does those get ready with me like
oh, Bruce
model.
Wayne.
They should do one with like the Batman, like Robin cosplays the Batman. Oh my god. Oh my
I
god.
need it. He so would too. He did that thing for the hot dog thing
I love the hot
just
dog thing.
for shits and giggles. He so would.
Oh my gosh, yes, Tyler. I do think he watched some makeup
Absolutely.
tutorials. I mean, like if TikTok exists in this world, makeup tutorials exist. But so Tyler says Rob in the Rain, which I like.
That's what I was gonna say. The scene, okay, it's my Twitter header right now. When he shows up at the Iceberg Lounge and he's just Bruce Wayne, and they open the door and it's like his hair's wet, he's wearing like very like wet, soppy clothes,
Oh
and
my
then he
god.
like goes to talk to Falcone. I think that's my favorite.
Yeah, that's really
Excuse.
sexy. I can't get over the sunglasses and the t-shirt. Like
You're
many,
so
many
real for that.
people asked me if I had seen the Batman, and I was like, no. And they're like, okay, I have to talk to you about one thing once you see it. And I was like, okay. And they're like, it just made me think of you. And I was like, okay. And then when I was leaving the movie theater, I was like, what was the one thing? And every single person was like, when he's in the t-shirt and the sunglasses. I was like, okay. I'm glad we all know. Like, beautiful moment. Yeah, so I loved that. What do you think his best acting moment was? I have like
I
a
think
couple.
I think maybe just the ending where he's talking to Selena, and you can tell that because she is like laying it all out right now, right?
Yeah.
But he is just very silent, and you can just see everything that he wants to say to her, like just from with his eyes, and just to be like, oh, take care of yourself, and even just that moment of Selena. Every time they kissed in the movie, she was the one to initiate it. But then
Mhm.
at the end, he leans in to kiss her and she
When he
pulls
leaned
away. And
in,
I was
I
like,
was like, ugh. Can you imagine doing that?
I Selena's better than me. She really is stronger than me. She's
The
a stronger
strongest
woman
woman,
than
like
me.
not even physically, like every single thing about her, she is stronger than me. I so Something that's really stayed with me is obviously the scene at Arkham when he's talking to Paul Dano's the Riddler. Because he doesn't really say a lot. He yells, but he doesn't really like converse a lot. And
Mhm.
you also can't really see him. Like he's like in the shadows, like on purpose, obviously. Like he's far
Mhm.
away. He's behind the glass for what most of what we're seeing. And like that moment where he's like, holy shit, he knows who I am. And then he like realizes like, oh, he doesn't know like who I am. I was like, there's so much going on, and it's all like you're saying with his eyes. And some of the best jaw acting I've seen in so
Yeah.
long. It's that jawline. Like, of course you can.
That's the
I
one thing he
really
had
like.
going for him when people were questioning him as
I was like,
Batman when
can
he
you
was
look at that
cast.
jawline and tell me he's not Batman? Like, come on.
Get
But so
real.
I
Grow
love
up.
that. And then I love his scene with Alfred in the hospital.
Mhm.
It was like it played so well because of Falcone like lying to him, and then Alfred being like, that's like his
Andy
truth.
Serkis is so good in that scene too.
He's so good in that scene. And he is used, we'll talk about this later, but I just think he's so perfectly used in this movie. Like, absolutely
Yeah.
love him. But like I love Rob in that scene because he's like processing so much, and it's like one of the few scenes you can see his entire face. And on top of all that, he is doing this physical acting of like, this is the one person who knows he's Batman.
Yeah.
And I feel like he is doing a lot in that scene, but he's not like overacting or anything. He just is doing
Mhm.
so much. And I think that says so much about him as an actor.
He's always been that kind of actor. Like
Yes.
doing the least, but still, getting whatever emotion that he's trying to portray across. I mean, I think Good Time is the perfect example of that. Yes,
Speaking
like
of,
Connie.
did you see the Good Time Easter egg?
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, yeah, the store.
So like I was like that guy's jacket kind of looks like Connie's jacket in the beginning of Good Time.
Also that. Oh my god.
And then
Mhm.
he runs out, and I'm like, oh, and now he's running like Connie in the red jacket. And then I realized the store sign says Good Time, and I was like, this is the best moment of all time for me and Hannah only. I knew you'd be the only other
Literally
person
our
to say that.
interests crossing
I was
over.
like, oh my god, thank you, Matt Reeves. And it's because of like that's how he casted him, was like, or announced his
Mhm.
casting. It was like the moment from Good Time. Oh, just beautiful.
Oh my god,
And
yeah, he did use
scary.
that gif from Good Time.
Yeah. So full circle moment, like full circle. I was like, and that mask was really scary on that kid. I don't know what it was. It was like
Oh my god,
it looked
I know.
like
And that shot of
it was really
just like the
scary.
camera, yeah, it's so good.
I was like, wow. But yes, Larry, his eye and jaw acting, amazing. It's just like further proof he was meant to be the Batman. And
Absolutely.
to answer Leo's question, I think Rob is the best Batman.
I agree.
I'm not afraid to say it, and I've only seen it once. First off,
He just has like the
this
most presence to him. And I think, just
yeah,
like I was saying, like Rob is just one of those actors that, you can just have him like on screen saying nothing and he just has such a presence. And I think
yes.
that is like so prevalent in the entire movie.
Yeah, like not only in all these scenes is he like absolutely towering over everyone, so he like just physically has a presence, but like he doesn't say anything and you can tell these cops are like scared of him. And my favorite cop is that one that keeps popping up. Like he's like a
Yeah.
jerk at the beginning. He's like, what a freak. And then he sees Bruce Wayne at the memorial service, and he's
He's
like,
like,
"Oh,
"Hey,
hi, Mr.
Bruce."
Wayne." Like, and then he sees him again at the Riddler's apartment. He's like, "You can't be in here." And then he's like, "Isn't that so cool?" Like, it's so funny. It was just like it wasn't like comic relief, but it was like really funny. Like, I
By the way,
love that.
people
But
saying this movie isn't funny are like insane. I'm like,
oh,
it's
I
just
so
situational humor. It's not like poo poo pee
like
pee, you know?
yeah, so I got to the movie theater really early, like I was telling you, and this guy comes in and he sits right next to me, and I was like, "You had to buy the ticket right next to me," but little did I know the theater was sold out. Like he was just like
Oh,
the other
well,
first person there. So the theater is completely packed. This guy wasn't with me, but we were both by ourselves. So like I feel like when people were walking in, they just assumed we were together, but like we were just both by ourselves. This guy was laughing at every single thing I was laughing at, and I was like, "People are really gonna think we're together." Because like he was the
you
only
guys
other
just
person
saw each
laughing.
other.
Like it was so funny. Like and then he like got up to leave, and I didn't, and he was like, "Is there something in the credits?" And I was like, "I mean, I heard there's something little, not like a scene." He's like, "Should I stay?" And I was like, "I don't. Why are you asking me?" Like it was really funny.
Right?
Um, I think Rob is definitely like he has such a presence. I also think he's just been like someone who really understands what we want to see out of a Batman. Like he is really struggling. This movie showed him his character go from being like I want to scare the bad guys to being like the people's Batman, which is a really cool
Yeah.
way to like expand on his character in a movie, especially like the first installment of this, I'm assuming, franchise.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
assuming.
we are kind of already getting teased with the Rada
Yeah.
website link, so
Um I really like loved him as Batman, and furthermore, I think he's also the best Bruce Wayne. I am really excited to see where he goes as Bruce Wayne, and I think that's like one of the perks of seeing him so young and not already like this established backstory of like I'm not the Batman, like I'm a lazy playboy like type, like but I will say I cannot wait to see him get to that part.
as the
Like I think
Playboy.
Rob
Oh
was
my god.
yeah, I think it'll be really overwhelming like sexually, but like Rob's just going to be like so funny doing that. Like
We're
I
gonna
can't
get
wait.
Tenet 2 without knowing it.
Literally, like oh my god, it's totally going to be that. That's going to be hilarious, except he's going to have black hair and it's going to be so funny.
Because I remember us talking about it when the first teaser came out. We were like, Oh, we kind of wish that his Bruce Wayne had the Tenet look. But now
Yes.
seeing it in context to the movie, it definitely makes a lot more sense for him to be emo Bruce Wayne.
It's
And like he still hasn't developed the Playboy thing yet because he just wants to be Batman all the time and he doesn't think he
yeah,
has time for anything else, you know?
it's so great. So, okay. Let's transition to relationships because I feel like that's a great place to go, especially. Okay, so my favorite part of this movie was the kind of switch of focusing his closest relationship being with Alfred, being with Gordon. I
Mhm.
loved the relationship that was with Gordon because it was very established to us that this is the second year he's Batman. But he still like kind of has a guard up with Gordon, but he's like slowly like, you're not that
And
bad. Like,
we got that one line and it did, you know, everything that it needed to do was when they're um on the what's the rooftop. Yeah. When they're on the rooftop and Rob is like, do you trust any of them? And then Gordon just tells him, he's like, I trust you. And I'm like, that does so much.
it like because I just feel like we've always seen him be so close with Alfred and we understand that relationship. But this movie kind of like gave you more of an insight as to like why he doesn't trust the police, but he trusts Gordon. And it was like you were seeing it in real time. And I feel like we've
Mhm.
never really seen that. We've always just seen him like just right away trust Gordon. And let me tell you, Jeffrey Wright is the best Gordon we've ever seen. I'm sorry to Gary
Very
Oldman,
sexy.
but like very sexy, first off. But like he made him really likable, but not like,
Mhm.
oh, he's stupid, goofy. Like I was
I feel
like,
like
this
I
guy,
knew him. Like, we
yeah,
didn't know
like
much about him, but I was like, I know people like him. Like, even
yeah,
him just, like, calling, Bruce, like, man all the time, I was like, it really does sell the kind of, like, because we didn't get to see them establish a relationship, it's like they
yeah.
already have a relationship when the movie starts, but I'm like, just, like, that alone is very much giving, you know, they're buddies of a sort.
It was really like it was really interesting. So the other thing is
And him letting him punch him in the face.
so funny. So, okay, I saw someone like complain about that scene and I was like, what? Like I that seemed like established so much more for me than being like fuck the police like like I'm just like
The
I don't
movie, like, definitely has some great commentary on that, though, because it's definitely not, like, propaganda. I've seen a few people, like, say that it is,
yeah.
and I'm like, the movie does a
Did we
great
watch the
job of
same
really.
movie? Like
Yeah, I'm like, everything is corrupt, and I know that scene, when, you know, they get Falcone and they bring him out and he's like, "Not everyone." I'm like, "But there's still so much, like, corruption," you know?
because some of these cops are definitely like covering their butts, like,
Yeah.
like they're
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm gonna be in on this. Like, but like I just so that and then I really love the use of Alfred here because I feel like one, because of the casting of Andy Serkis, we know he's going to be a bigger deal later on. But I love that Bruce like trusts him, but he doesn't. Like he's like, "You're not a Wayne." I'm like, that was so
Yeah.
fucking mean.
I
But
know.
then,
I was like,
like, I was
he's
like,
literally
damn.
just trying to help you look better right now.
But then, like, and like he brought him a glass of water. I'm like, what is this? Like, it's so like pure, but then like he's so mean to him. But it made that scene of them in the hospital like so much more meaningful because I'm like, he loves him. He just has like a really hard
Mhm.
time showing it. Like, it's just
And that
I
was just like we're not even like touching the surface of like breaking the
yeah.
walls down that like Bruce has up. Because I know that was a lot for us, the audience, but like you can still tell that there's so much that like, and that's all Rob, you know, just like really conveying that,
Yeah.
you know, there's so much that he wants to tell him right now and really just like let it all out, but he can't.
It's great acting, it's great writing. I loved it so much. So Tyler is saying give Robert a Robin. He needs a friend. And Leo agrees. Have you guys seen
Oh,
all these rumors about that kid that was like one of those painted face?
yeah. yeah.
That the kid that
And
runs away, everyone's like, he should
funny
be the
enough,
Robin.
he plays Tim Drake on Titans. So he already is a Robin Bat Family
That's so
guy. But
cool.
obviously if they do make him Robin, I don't think that they're going to be like, oh, this is connected to Titans. I just think it's a funny coincidence.
I wonder if they'll do that. I just feel like Robin's always been perceived as being so cheesy. Even like, so I'm a big believer in The Dark Knight Rises is as good as The Dark Knight. But that scene where Joseph Gordon-Levitt goes to pick up the paperwork at the end and he's like, it's under my real name, Robin. I'm like, shut up.
Oh man.
Like it was too
so
cheesy
corny
for me. I was like,
Yeah.
this is like too much, especially with how
It could have been great
heavy-handed.
casting, but it's so corny.
It was just handled so like it was so corny. It's so Christopher Nolan to make it that. Like,
Christopher Nolan is so funny because he is like one of those like realism people, but then in his movies he has like even like in Tenet where they're like, don't think about it, just feel, and I'm like, that is
what
so
are you
corny
doing?
and so Christopher Nolan.
So Christopher Nolan. That's why I have the hot take that the Batman is better than the Dark Knight, because this movie handles being like a real movie, not like a real movie, but like realism, like Batman being real better than the Dark Knight handles it. Like the Dark Knight takes itself so seriously, and like for everyone being like the Batman isn't funny, I'm like, was the Dark Knight funny? Because like
I
it
mean,
needed something.
I think that Riddler's riddles were just as like humorous as
For
some of the
anyone
stuff that
saying this
Joker
movie is
did,
not
you
funny,
know?
when he literally says, thanks for all the likes and the tips on the detonators.
Oh my god, that is so
I'm telling
fucking
you,
funny.
my whole theater burst out laughing when he was like, he has 500 followers. I was like,
Oh my god.
like, and I love that it was like a TikTok, but like YouTube,
Like Instagram Live. Also, I don't know if you noticed this or not, because it took me until the third viewing to notice it. But when they're interrogating Penguin and they're like, "Okay, we gotta go," and Penguin is like all like constrained, he waddles
he
like a
walks
penguin.
away like a penguin.
Oh my god, that
Okay.
is so funny.
I was like, okay, I saw a lot of people complaining about Colin Farrell's use in this movie, that he's barely in it, that they could have combined his character with Falcone. And I just want to say, hard disagree. I think that one, they didn't arrest Penguin. They put him in handcuffs, but they left him, right? And then you see him at the end overlooking the city. They just set him up to be the power grabber in the sequel.
Yeah.
Like, that's why he's in this movie, and that's why he's barely in it, and that's why he is Colin Farrell. Like, he is coming back. Like, they didn't cast Colin
I
Farrell.
mean, we already have the HBO Max series confirmed.
They're doing something with him. Like, come on. But I loved every scene with Colin Farrell. He was so funny. And then, okay,
He's
Tyler's
so
bringing
fucking
up
funny.
another thing. I still love
Yes.
Drive. Okay, so like you were saying, the Riddler's riddles were just so dumb and like hilarious, and like the thumb drive thing was just the funniest thing, because first you get the clue,
Even
drive.
Gordon being like, "Oh, this guy's hilarious."
It was the way he said it too was just absolutely the funniest thing, because then you just get the clue drive, and it has nothing to do with thumb. And then you get to the car and he's like there. And I'm like, oh, it's just the murder weapon, which was so dumb of me, because I think they already had the murder weapon. I don't know. And then it's just like the car. And then he's like, I'm looking for a thumb drive. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how do you know it's a thumb drive? And then he finds the thumb drive. You see him pull the thumb drive out, but you don't see the thumb. And then he's like,
yeah,
holding it up. And I'm like, it was just so funny. Like, I loved it. And then what was the other? He had another joke that was so stupid.
I think
Monday Riddler would get his pumpkin pie. That it makes it a Thanksgiving movie, you know?
Yeah, I think The other thing about Penguin that was like super funny was when they were interrogating him and he's like, "Oh, no habla español, fellas," and like he just
I
calls them
loved
out on
it
all their bullshit, and he's like, "Are you guys
because
gonna start
he should be
harmonizing, or am I having a
scared.
duet?"
Like, he should be scared. Like, he's like alone with, like, at this point you don't really know what Batman's gonna do. Like, he could kill, like, we don't know, like, he doesn't know,
Mhm.
but he's like over here like, you don't know the difference between L and la. Like, and I just want to
Oh my
say, like,
god.
this is why they casted Colin Farrell. Like, he read every line so well. Like, he knew when to act like he knew more than he was letting on. He knew when to be like funny. He knew when to be like, I don't know anymore. Please back off. Like, and
It's
him and that
scary.
car
That one
chase scene.
scene,
Yeah, like,
yeah, I keep thinking about it, and every time I've seen it, it's like one of my favorite moments in the movie is when he's walking out and he's like, "Come on, vengeance!" and he's just like shooting around him, and I'm like, that is so good.
he just played every part so well, and I think like anyone complaining about him just doesn't see the bigger picture, and that's a you problem. That's not a movie problem. I'm sorry. Like,
Exactly.
I just
The
it
girls that get
was
it, get it. The girls that don't,
just
I'm
a
sorry.
don't. But yeah, Larry, I love that each of them had a very comic book moment. Selena gets a glass of milk, which was hilarious. Bats literally live in the Bat Cave, the Penguin Waddle, the Riddler making coffee, question mark, art. Question about that. When did this guy have time to learn how to make latte art? Do you guys think the
It's
latte
just
was flavored? Do you think he got like a plain latte, or do you think he got like, I mean, he
Kenzie's the
got
coffee
pumpkin
girl, so she
pie.
needs to know.
Did he get a pumpkin spice latte?
What pairs well with pumpkin pie? Hmm.
I wouldn't do pumpkin, but like, he's the Riddler. Like, I don't think he does anything that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Some sort of
I
chaos.
so I was really we haven't even talked about Zoe.
Oh my god. We need to.
Zoe. First off, the nails were her idea and made such a big difference.
Oh my god. I
Um,
love that she just has these like bitchy nails and it's like never
every
like
time she does
addressed or
something.
anything.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
so okay, we got to talk about it if we're talking about Zoe. That bait and switch moment that they shot that funeral scene
Oh my
outside
god.
with Zoe in
I'm
this
sick.
beautiful outfit. They show Falcone help a girl out of the car, and you see the
Mhm.
nails and the boots, and you're like, wow, Zoe. And Bruce is not dressed up as Batman. He is Bruce, runs up to her and grabs
What
her and
was he
turn
gonna
around.
say if it was
That's
her?
what I don't get. Like, what was he gonna say? Like, but I love it because he was so jealous and angry and like just so many emotions going on. But he was mostly jealous. I just want to say he was mostly jealous. Like,
Mhm.
anyone
Yeah.
saying he's so committed, I'm like, this is a boy. You guys are all
No, at
saying it's a
that point he
virgin.
thought that they had some sort of relationship. He didn't know that he
Yeah.
was her father.
Yeah. He's like, nobody else gets to have sexual tension but me with you. Like, you guys are all saying he's a virgin, so he's very worked up. Um but like, and then it's not even her. The whole theater gasped. Like, everyone was like, wow. Like, they were so
That
smart
impact that
for
those set
doing that.
photos had.
Yeah, they were
Mhm.
so smart for doing that. And this was like when we were all so bored with COVID that we were like
Yeah.
desperate for anything. So like, it was impossible to ignore those photos. Like, but just amazing. Was so well done. So worth it too. So worth that
Yeah.
extra. Let's get Zoe in full makeup, and I loved it so much. And then I loved it because
Matt
it
Reeves
was
is still evil for cutting it though.
I
Because I needed to see Zoe in that, like in action.
especially that outfit's just so gorgeous. But
She
I
is
love that
so
scene.
cunty in the movie, and I'm
She,
obsessed with it.
I love everything about her, Selena and Catwoman. But I loved that scene so much because it was like kind of like your first time seeing all these characters see Bruce, but we've already seen him interact with them like as Batman. And it was just so
She never
cool.
met Bruce, huh?
She never met
Selena.
Bruce.
Hmm.
But like, so okay, Selena. One, love all her wigs so much. I love I have no, like a buzzed or like a short hairdo and I just wear wigs. Absolutely love it. All of her outfits, especially that like leather corset with the leather pants that she wears,
Yes, with the
pink
pink
wig.
hair. Oh
Oh,
my
I loved
god.
it so much. I want to be
You know
skinny like
what?
her.
My my entire theater, every single time I've seen it, when she comes in, when uh Batman is talking to Penguin and she comes in just to like give him the drop, whatever, do they just call it drop? I don't know. They gasp
Hannah and I
when
are
she
so
comes in.
innocent. We're like, what is it called when people give
Yeah.
drug dealers money?
They call each
But
other like drop heads. I'm like, do they just call it drugs? Or do they call it like drop? I don't
like
know.
that outfit is so sexy. Like it's just like a white tank top. It's just
Oh my
like
god. Yeah.
with the nails and like the hair, the wig she
Like no
has on
bra
there.
either.
No
It's
bra.
very much
I loved it so
just
much.
everything.
Tyler is absolutely correct. Zoe doesn't have to steal my stuff. I just let her have it. Absolutely correct. I let her do whatever she wants.
You know,
Um,
Bruce is stronger than me, truly. They're both stronger than me because if either one of them were looking at me the way they're looking at each other, I would fall to my knees instantly.
literally, like that scene with them is so great because he doesn't know, but he knows, but he doesn't know what she knows. And then like
Yeah.
she knows that he's watching her. And she also knows like this guy is gonna come after me. I don't know what for though. And then like it just like plays out really well. And their chemistry is just so next level. But like her energy, her personality, this whole movie is just like it's another level.
Oh yeah. Their like entire banter during the scene of her walking through the club and he's like, talking to her in her ear and she's recording everything for him. Like that entire thing, I could watch it on loop because I'm like their chemistry and their banter. They're not even like in the same room
They're not
together.
even
And they're
together.
still
Like
like it's still like giving.
it was so good. And then like when she yells at him and takes out the eye thing, I was like, this is just like one
I love
knew
that
something
shot
terrible
too.
was gonna happen. It's so good. The use of
Mhm.
mirrors in this movie is really excellent,
Mhm.
like because it's like subtly done, not in a cheesy way. I love that club scene also when she like interacts with Falcone. It's so creepy and
Mhm.
scary, and I'm
Oh
like,
my god, I know, because I think on the third watch, because I was a little confused after the first one. I was like, so he knows that he's her father, but I think that he hadn't seen her in so long that he didn't know because he knew from a child that her mother had a kid and it was his. But then I'm assuming they had like a lot of time apart and she grew up and he doesn't like know her face or anything. So when at the end, when she's like, I forgot her mother's first name. I'm blank Kyle's daughter. So, all the moments when he was like, oh, like calling her beautiful and like holding her face, I don't think that he thought that
yeah.
he was her father.
Yeah, and then it's so weird because like she knows. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, what kind
Mhm.
of like interactions have they had? You know? It's so weird to
Mhm.
think about. Um, I loved her in every scene, especially in that scene where she is talking to Bruce and she's like yelling at him and they're kind of like flirting or whatever. And then she's like, if I turn around, he's gonna get up and come talk to me. I'm like,
Yes.
every girl who's ever been in public knows this situation.
They even say it
And
too when
yeah,
he's like, everyone's looking at you and she's like, feels good, doesn't it? Or like something like that. And I'm like, that is so good.
it was just like so well done. And then Bruce is so funny because he is like you're saying, he's only focused on being Batman, that he's like, just keep talking to him about this. Just keep talking to him about this. Like he's not paying
Wait,
attention at all to like anything socially going on.
yeah, we haven't talked about bisexual Selena. I think it's
Okay, so
very obvious that they had a relationship.
a lot of people are saying it's not enough and that they don't feel they did enough to confirm it. I'm like, I have lived with like I've had 4 roommates. I have never called them baby, like on the
Yeah.
phone the way she says it. like she comes home and she like grabs her face in like a
Yeah.
I'm gonna protect you in like a relationship way, not a friendship way. Because I feel like a lot of people are forgetting that Selena's putting on all these fronts. Like when she's at work, she has like a front on. Like I am trying to dig a little further into what's going on here. When she's with Bruce, it's like a front. Well, Batman. She has like a front on that she is tough and doesn't need him. And like, I feel like she always has like this front on. And then when she's at home, she like unwinds. But we never really see them alone at home in a normal setting. We only really see them when that news comes out that it was her, she was like the mistress or whatever, and she's like comforting her. I think they did enough to where, I don't think they needed to waste time being like, I am in a sexual relationship with her. Like,
Yeah.
I like if you missed it, I understand what people are mad about that. Like, she's saying it was a bisexual like character, but I'm like, the movie doesn't have to come out like no one from the movie other than Zoe really said it. So they're not like doing like a Disney where they're like, we have the first gay
Oh
character.
yeah, no.
I'm
Ahead
like,
of
I'd
time, Matt Reeves
understand
wasn't like,
people.
oh, we're making huge steps in the LGBTQ
Yeah.
community. You know?
Like I'd understand the like people being upset if they had done that, but I'm like, Zoe was just asked about it, and Zoe was like, well, I wrote it that way. And I'm like, I mean, I don't know who saw that part and didn't read it that way. Like if you didn't, I don't
Even
know
then,
what to
I
tell
think
you.
it's like further proof that it was very much a romantic relationship, because she calls her baby obviously in the beginning like a whole lot, and then she keeps calling Batman hun up until when they kiss, and then she starts calling him baby, so when they get like romantically involved, that's when she
Yes.
starts calling him baby. And I'm like, I think that's just like a thing of her, expressing,
That's her pet name
romantic
for
feelings.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I love it because I think that's a really important thing for a Selena Kyle character
Hmm.
because
It plays very
I
much into like the femme fatale thing.
yes, that and everyone's like worked up over Mr. Barry, which I'll let you talk about. But what if we've all been hoping we'll get Margot Robbie in Poison Ivy, but what if we get Catwoman in Poison Ivy?
I would actually lose my mind and never question anything Matt Reeves does ever again. I would be at every single movie that he will ever put out opening night. Like, I need him to understand how badly we
Because
need Poison Ivy.
I'm like
I just need a
he
female antagonist in a Batman movie. We've never had that before. Like a main female
yeah.
antagonist in a Batman movie.
And that would be like the perfect like draw to get Selena back from wherever she goes. And I just like we're also hung up on Barry, but I'm like he gave us multiple like iconic characters in this movie. So I'm like there's nothing stopping him from like doing more iconic characters in another one. See, Larry
Yeah.
knows. Larry's like, give me Catwoman and Poison Ivy, please. It would be totally because what if he's just setting up Selena as bisexual in this and then they go full-fledged into it in another
Oh my
movie?
god.
Like you guys don't know
I
what's
hope
going on.
so. Do you have like
Like
fan castings
I
for
haven't
Poison
really
Ivy?
thought about it. I
I
haven't
have
really thought
one.
about it. You know what's weird? I actually, when we were talking about it for the Birds of Prey sequel, I really wanted Zoe, which is so
Oh my
weird because now
god.
she's Catwoman. And I'm like, I can't imagine her as anything else. Like
Just
she's the
speaks to her
perfect
talent,
Catwoman.
honestly.
Yeah, like I always felt like because I feel like she has the physique to be like in a cat suit, but also like in like various like club outfits,
Like
which I know.
vines and like,
Yeah. So I could have
yeah.
seen that. And she just has the perfect face to pull off like a long red wig or something.
Oh my
She
god.
pulls off a long
Any
pink
color on
wig.
her. Yeah.
Um yeah. Who do you want to fan cast as Poison Ivy?
I think I'm really in love with the idea of Jodie Comer.
That would be so cool. That would be so cool. How tall is she? Because
Hmm.
Zoe's a little petite girl.
Oh yeah, Zoe's very, very little.
But I guess like that could work But I just like I love the height difference between Batman and Catwoman. Like especially because
Oh
he
my
has the
god.
stupid boots on, which like I love. They're like hilarious. His little like DIY bat suit.
And I love that they have just like a shot of him walking. Like you see the
They look
boots and
like
it's like
normal
very much
boots.
concentrated on the boots.
Like
I
it's
didn't
so
even think when I saw the
funny.
first trailer, I didn't even think it was Batman's boots. I thought it was like Gordon's boots when we first saw the trailer.
Some work boots.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna let you just go about Barry. What you got about
Okay.
Mr. Barry?
I'm in defense of this scene because I've seen a lot of people say that they don't like the scene because it feels out of place. And the way I described it, Larry, I hate you so much. The way I described it before hearing Matt Reeves talk about it, I was like, I feel like it kind of, because with the bookend of the film is Selena saying, you know, the city's never going to change. And Bruce has this like newfound hope, you know, in the city. And Selena just kind of shutting it down and being like, the city's never going to change. And I think the scene, and that scene is right before that scene. I think it's just like another way of like being like, you know, Gotham never sleeps. It's like always something's looming underneath of it. So that's my defense of the scene. But also, I think Barry is just a great casting choice for Joker. And I know a lot of
So
people aren't excited for another Joker because we've done Joker so much. But I say we've done Batman a lot. So what's the difference here?
okay, so you're the one who told me that Barry was gonna be Joker way back when. And I was like, I told you, I'm so sick of Joker, but I will make an excuse for him. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think he will be such a different iteration of Joker. And I just I can't now that we know he's going to be Joker, I can't imagine like not being excited for it. You know? Like
Yeah.
it's not only is it worth
I
it
wasn't excited until his name was brought up.
yeah, like it's not only like are we definitely getting a sequel because everyone's going to want to see this. But like he is just so me and you have all we're obviously huge Rob fans. Rob is like our little weirdo. So him being Batman is just like the coolest thing. But like Barry is so much weirder than Rob and he is going to be so scary because
Yes.
he one of the most terrifying performances I've ever seen in my life is him in The Killing a Sacred Deer. And
Absolutely.
the Joker
It's a
gets to be
different
so
kind
much
of weird there too.
yeah, and the Joker
Because
gets to
I
be
think
so scary. And he's gonna
yeah, I
bring
think
that to the Joker? Like, are you kidding?
he's so quiet and like reserved in The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and that's what makes him so scary, you know? Um and like methodical. And then I think him and the Green Knight is like a great parallel to that like really also like solidifies him as a great choice for Joker because in the Green Knight he's very much that like zany, like loud, like the whole scene with like Dev Patel and him just like getting in his face. There's so much sexual tension there, by the way, and I would love for them to play into that with him and Rob because I fully believe that they would have an like intense chemistry. So if like Joker and Batman had like sexual tension in the sequel, I would actually die. But yeah, they really got the two weirdos of Hollywood to play Riddler and Joker back to back.
Larry,
That is so
amazing.
true.
Okay, so Paul Dano, that's a good segue, Larry. Thank you. Paul Dano. So when they first announced he was cast as Riddler, my very offline husband was like, he is the most punchable person in the world. Every time he's in a movie, I just want to punch him. And I'm like,
Poor Paul Dano.
I know. And then he was like, and my husband's also very like not a comic book person. He was like, he's gonna be the perfect Riddler, isn't he? And I was like, yeah, like he's gonna be insane. I was kind of scared that I was like, because I saw this on Saturday, so I had like almost a full week of people telling me this was like the greatest movie ever.
Mhm.
I was kind of scared. I was like, what if people are overhyping the Riddler? But one, like we talked about, his opening scene is terrifying. But when he is singing Ave Maria, like
Oh my
I was
god.
like, what a scary guy. And Larry's totally right. They're the two biggest weirdos working. Like, I mean, they're clearly like the biggest sweethearts off screen, but like
Yeah.
they just are so exciting and so weird in the best way. And I don't think there's really any actors like them because like they're not even comparable themselves, but they're very weird all the time with the roles they pick. Like they really are not afraid to like just be really bonkers. And like the Riddler could have very easily been like dumb, but he is not. And I think he did, that's like one people keep complaining about the writing, and I'm like, move on. Like if you're
Grow up.
if you're like I think a big part of it is like what I was saying was my struggle with superhero movies. You have to accept that you're in this world where there is a guy at night in a cape just running around like doing this stuff.
They extend their, you know, suspension of disbelief with that,
Yeah,
but
like you
Riddler is too much.
Yeah, like you have to get past that. And like the way they wrote the Riddler is like he really did just like have some psychotic break and like decided this was the best way to live. And
he
I
fully believes that he's doing the right thing and is right.
Yeah. And that's like such a so much the writing, but also like no one else could have done this other than Paul Dano, and I will die on that hill. And
Jonah Hill wanted it. he
worst
almost got it.
Fucking movie ever made. Oh my god.
I love you, Jonah Hill, and I'm so glad that you are wanting to step out of comedy, but this was not the role for you, and I'm glad Matt Reeves saw that.
Like, God.
Now, no. Penguin, on the other hand, he would have been great.
Yeah.
Riddler, no.
Riddler, no. I love Paul Dano in this movie. I love his ability to be funny, like thanks for the likes and the detonator tips, to then being like, let's blow up cars and kill children. Like it was just really like such a no one else could have done that transition. Like I loved it. And
he had, love a patheticness to him too.
Yes. It was kind of like similar to his whole thing in Prisoners when you thought he did it and he was just like, no, I'm stupid. Like I was like, this guy's scary, even though like what is going on with his voice? Like I love him and I love what he did in this movie, and I'm really scared of him. Like not only his
choice that he made to like extend like every word that he says, especially during that scene where he's like, no, this wasn't supposed to happen this way, and he's like extending like everything that he says, and he's just like, it's like sounds like he's singing for a moment, but then he like actually starts singing.
That was like the funniest transition because he does sound like he's singing and then he's really singing, and I'm like, is this a voiceover? And then they cut to him and he's like, ah. It's just like but Tyler is so funny. I really thought Batman was going to beat him up like how he got beaten up in Prisoners. I love that Hugh Jackman was more violent than the Batman. That's funny.
They never touched once, and they do kind of like acknowledge it because, you know, Riddler's like, I'm not a physical person. So obviously Riddler planned for them never to, you know, Batman like never to have a plan to beat him up.
Yeah, he planned for their first meeting to be like that.
Mm-hmm. In Arkham, 100%. Yeah. Both of them to stay safe because he thought that Batman was helping him the entire time.
It was just so wild.
Also, that like misdirect of like Batman thinking that he knew that he was Bruce Wayne, and in reality, he's like, "Oh, we just didn't get him," and like Rob not looking at him at all in that scene because you can tell that he's like, "Oh my god, I'm fucked. I'm so fucked." Right now.
He looks up at the camera, and I was like, "Oh my god." Like, because Batman, I don't know if a lot of people agree with me, but one of my favorite things about Batman movies is the whole, I feel like he wants people to know he's Batman, so he has like that weight off of his shoulders, but at the same time, he clearly knows like that's bad for him because everyone around him will get hurt essentially once he has people around him. But like, it was just so like, I was like, wow, they're really gonna like reveal his identity in the first movie. Like, and then you realize like he's just saying we missed him. But then for a minute I was like, does he think they're besties like Larry's saying? Or Is he say I at first I was like, does he think they're besties or is he trying to set him up? I was like, shit, is he really just setting him up like he was in on it because all these cops hate him? But then like he kept going, and I was like, no, this guy is just crazy and really
He
thinks
literally
they're
planned for them both to be safe in Arkham. Like, he was like, oh yeah, he's gonna come here, we're gonna have this awesome conversation, and we're gonna be safe in Arkham, we can watch this happen together. Because he's like, you know, Batman inspired him, and you know, that's obviously like the huge arc of the movie is Batman being like, I don't want to, you know, inspire vengeance anymore. I want to, you know, be a symbol of hope. And for, you know, so many criminals to, and I think that moment when, you know, during that big fight scene at the end on top of that thing in Gotham Square Garden, which is so funny. And the guy's like, I'm vengeance. And like him like realizing that, oh my God, he's kind of the one that inspired all of this like criminal activity. And going back to that narration in the beginning when he's like, you know, like crime is up more than it was 2 years ago when I started this. So yeah, I think that's such a great moment also.
This whole movie is like one of those movies you're like, wow, every single thing that happened at the beginning happens like again at the end, just in a different way. And I was like, I love this. Like I loved it so much. I cannot believe that we had that footage of Batman leading those people out of the water, but we didn't
Yeah.
realize it was like a flooded city or whatever. I was like,
I just thought it
how
was
did
like,
none
I
of
don't even
this
know what I thought
leak?
it was.
I thought they were
Yeah.
underground. I thought they were in a subway or something. Like
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know how they pulled off some of these huge set moments without us knowing. Like I know they used like backlots or whatever,
And it
but
was
it was
like
just really
practical. There's
impressive.
pictures of like
Yeah,
the flooding and like the cars all like, you know, pushed up against something, and it's practical.
yeah. It's crazy. It was so well done. And I just there's so much in this movie that one is in the trailers that I didn't know like what it was gonna be. Or there's so little in the trailers that I don't know how we didn't see some of this stuff. Like it is just so wild. We talked about Jeffrey Wright. We talked about Barry. I just want to say again, Colin Farrell, so well casted. Like I know a lot of us are like, stop putting skinny actors in fat suits, but he was
I mean,
great. That makeup
even
was
before
great.
this, before seeing his performance, Colin Farrell's also always been a character actor, right?
Yes.
And very much has been into kind of like Christian Bale transforming himself. So this,
Hmm.
when he was cast, it was no surprise to me that I
Remember
thought that
those
we would get
pictures?
sexy Penguin.
Yeah, remember those pictures of him with
Yeah.
the gray hair? And we were like, wow, that's
Yes.
him.
What the fuck was that for?
I don't even know. It was so funny. Maybe they did it to like put us on a goose chase. Yes, Larry. How do we get Olivia Colman in as the next
Oh my
Batman
God,
villain?
right?
I
Her
wonder
and
if we
Mitchell's
should.
versus the Machines was so good.
What a year that in The Lost Daughter. How could because
Oh
I
my God,
really
yeah.
wanted her to be a Bond villain, and that ship has
Oh
obviously sailed.
wow. Oh
Um,
wow.
she'd
Not
be
when
a
Henry
great
Golding is
Batman
cast.
villain.
As Bond.
I was so
How do we get
excited for
Henry Golding as a Batman villain?
how do we get Henry Golding in anything good after Snake Eyes? I was
I
so
know.
excited for Snake Eyes because I was like, this will cement him as James Bond, and then everybody hated it, and I was like, okay, never mind.
I really thought he was like on the come up because we had Monsoon, and Monsoon was so good and he was so great in it. And then Snake Eyes came out. That would
Tyler,
be interesting, Tyler.
that would be interesting. Okay, so who do we want? What do we want the
Leo.
sequel to be? And Leo's so
Leo's an
funny.
asshole.
What do we want in the sequel? Do we want, I mean, obviously it's Joker. Leo, I see you talking poorly about Dakota Johnson, and I'm going to choose to ignore it. Oh my God, Dakota
That
Johnson
is.
is Poison Ivy.
Listen, that was my first choice for so long, but then Sony scooped her up, and I was like, never mind, never mind.
I would love Rob
She
if
would
Dakota worked
eat.
together. Yeah,
Oh my God. That
it would
is
have been
genuinely
so
like my
good.
wet dream.
Oh my God,
It's Dakota Johnson is Poison
y'all
Ivy.
thought I hated Marvel before? Oh my God.
Now they really done it. They really made an enemy.
Wow, I'm furious. Wow, that would have been so good.
Yes, we are the only
the
ones that have
sequel.
watched Monsoon, Larry.
Okay, Tyler says, "Give me Rebecca Ferguson as Poison Ivy."
I think she's a little too old for Zoe Kravitz. If we're gonna do
If I'm
some,
making them a couple, I know everyone's gonna say Megan Fox, but that's boring.
yeah, it's too
Um,
obvious.
I don't know. I only want Dakota Johnson.
Oh, what's that? What's
There
her
have to
name
be more
from?
people.
What's her name from After Yang?
Oh,
Um,
what is her name? Haley? Is it Haley? Haley Joel Richardson?
no, Jodie Turner-Smith. Another Jodie.
Jodie Turner-Smith.
That would. Oh my god! Wow, wow.
Oh my god. Okay, Larry has a point that
That's a lot.
Rebecca with Margot is good Ivy casting, which is true,
Mhm.
but I get the sense we're not getting that.
Yeah, I don't think I would love that if we were able to have Margot crossover into the Batman and not bring any of the DCU baggage with her, just have her. I would love that, but I don't think we'll get that. I think Michaela Cole is still Storm and secretly in Black Panther 2. I almost called you Chili Boy Productions. Larry.
I almost always do that. And I like go to tag him in something and I'm like searching at Larry. Like, never mind.
I know.
Zoe Kravitz is 33 and Rebecca Ferguson's 38.
Okay, so maybe I just got off of her in Dune.
It's
I think
because
that's
of
why.
Dune, where she's cast as a
Yeah.
mom. It's that whole thing with Nicole Kidman playing Alexander Skarsgard's wife in Big Little Lies, and then she's his
Yes.
mom in The Northman. So somebody, I don't remember who it was, tweeted, I'm trying to think of who said it, but they said,
Anya Taylor-Joy is kind of a boring casting too, though,
I'm
for
okay.
Poison Ivy.
I'm saying this directed towards the internet, but there are other white blonde girls other than Anya Taylor-Joy and Florence Pugh. I love them both, but like
Yes.
every single fan casting is them, and I'm tired of it. But I
I'm
love
so
them both.
scared for
I love them
Furiosa with
both.
her. I'm so scared.
I'm really scared of that movie in general.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, but somebody said Alexander Skarsgård is Mr. Freeze, and I was like, that's the sexiest movie ever made. If it's with Rob,
That is literally too much for me. Truly.
people would die. People would die from.
Yeah.
I couldn't deal with it. Oh my god, Jodie Turner-Smith. I love it. I love her.
She's amazing. Obsessed with her. I also think Anna Diop, if we can get her from the from the grip of Titans, I think that she would do a phenomenal job as Ivy.
Ooh. Okay.
He's too hot for Mr. Freeze. Listen, my fan casting for Mr. Freeze was Oscar Isaac, so that would also be too hot.
I saw
guess.
a lot of rumors that they met with him a long time ago to lock him down for Harvey Dent.
Coulson.
What?
I think it was for Coulson because they had a meeting just for a role in the Batman, and it was never like specified if it was like villain or anything like that. And I think if it was for like Harvey, then it would have been specified in the scoop. I think that it might have been for Coulson. Yeah, that would make sense to me, at least.
Larry saying Kristen Stewart is Ivy.
That would be the Twilight reunion that we've all needed.
I didn't even consider her because of Twilight. I was like,
I know, right?
But let me tell you.
I'd be seated.
I'd be seated.
There's no bad blood between her and Rob either, so it could happen.
Can you imagine they both do all these weird movies and then they come back and do like the Batman together? That'd be hilarious.
That would actually be like the best career trajectories that I've ever seen in Hollywood.
I don't think they would do that just because it's so good. She'd be
good.
Great. She'd actually be really great. And I feel like her and Zoe would have great chemistry.
Oh my god.
You know?
I just my heart skipped a beat just now.
Like they'd be really great together.
Oh
and I feel like they're similar, like petite queens.
Absolutely.
And I would like that. Can you imagine the backlash though of people being like, two
Oh.
Twilight actors?
You guys just don't get it.
Literally all I do is tell people Twilight's not bad, and they're like, okay, and I'm like,
I know, that's like the fight that I'm gonna fight for the rest of my life, is
literally
convincing
the rest
people
of
that
my
Twilight
life I'm
is
gonna be
actually
like,
good.
you can hold it against them, but I think it's a solid point. I'd want I just don't want the whole sequel to be about the Joker. I think it's like better if they like don't let it be the entire thing. And personally, I kind of think it'd be cool if they didn't let the Joker overtake the second one and let the second one build into the third one with the Joker, where like he's still figuring out he's the Joker in the second one, and then he becomes full-fledged Joker in the third one.
Well, there's obviously history with him and Batman already.
Yeah.
And Matt Reeves spoke to this because there's a deleted scene that was cut from this movie of Batman going to visit Joker in Arkham to try and ask him about Riddler and like what to do. So obviously there's history there, and I wonder if Batman put him in Arkham. So
Ooh,
I would
maybe.
love for like more like Easter eggs to be laid in the second one, and then we get into the third and he's the villain of the third. I would love that.
That would be cool. I also like Larry.
Why wouldn't you want to see Batman and
Okay,
Mr. Fuck?
all Hannah and I want are for there to be more like hidden gay romances with Robert Pattinson and his characters. Like,
literally every episode of Robert Pattinson is us explaining how every movie that he's been in is actually very gay.
like, okay, and everyone's always like Willem Dafoe as Joker. What if Harvey Dent's just old and it's Willem Dafoe?
I mean, real.
And then they can have a reunion, and then we can talk about them having a homosexual relationship.
I need that, actually.
I'm like kind of into it. Oh my god. Yeah, so Larry's correct. That's all we ever want from any movie. So before we go, what was your favorite part of this movie?
Okay, I think my favorite scene is that scene where Selena goes to kill Falcone, and like obviously they have, you know, that moment of her like walking around with a gun, and he gets her down and he's choking her, but then Batman comes in and obviously gets Falcone off, and there's this one specific line, and it's like got me every single time I watch the movie, is when she's like, I have to make him pay, and he's like, you've paid enough, yeah, you don't have to pay with him, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking lose it. And like the way that he just like holds her hand after he takes the gun from her, I'm like, I can't do this. I truly can't do this.
It's like, so I'm a huge person yelling online about actors having chemistry and stuff, and then them like on red carpets and in photo shoots, like I'm like, they're acting, like they're just good actors. There's no like Oscar Isaac's
Real
cheating on his
spark.
wife with Jessica Chastain. I'm like, they're acting. Like, but like the way Rob and Zoe are together is so special, and I don't think anything's going on between them. But like, it's just very special, and it's more like,
yeah, you can tell it's a great friendship.
Yeah, like it just is really like perfectly. They were clearly perfectly casted because I do believe they're friends. Especially with this Wonderland photo shoot, like first off,
oh my god,
sexy movie stars mean everything to me. But they're just like, they just clearly have like a deep connection somehow, because that moment, the first time they kiss, I'm like, and yes, Tyler, it is the hottest movie cast. Like everyone
at
in
least
it.
of like the last 10 years, right?
It has to be. Because like Dune, yes, but Dune is a very sexless movie to me.
Yeah. Very.
It's as dry. It's as dry as the desert. Like it's very dry. The Batman.
Yeah. Very sexy, very hot.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah, especially when we get Willem Dafoe as an old Harvey Dent. Who else could he be? I don't know anything about comic books. You guys help me.
I actually think Willem Dafoe would be a great Mad Hatter. Like
I
he
don't know
would
what that is,
kill that.
but okay.
It's very much like kind of jokery. It's like exactly what you'd envision Mad Hatter
Like a Alice
is
in
pretty much
Wonderland?
what it is. Kinda.
She's
Kinda.
like, absolutely not.
I mean,
I
I don't know much about it, but I remember when Barry was cast in the movie and we didn't know anything about his role, people were like, "Oh my god, he has to be Mad Hatter." Like that makes so much sense. And I like researched a little, and it definitely would give like if we can't have him as Joker, then Mad Hatter would be probably the next best option.
I wonder if he'd do another comic book movie. He seemed to have fun in Spider-Man.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was super like enthusiastic on the No Way Home press tour. And he
Yeah,
was basically like the main villain of that movie.
okay, Larry saying throw Barry out and put Defoe on his Joker. I just feel like,
I couldn't argue with that.
okay, yes, Tyler, I know about Scarecrow because it's Cillian Murphy. Castle goes Scarecrow. That's
The
that line where he's like,
Batman.
the Batman. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
That is so iconic.
Oh my god. Honestly, just bring back. Okay, Willem does not do anything for a check.
Come on.
Willem.
When's the last time he was in a blockbuster other than No Way Home?
Wasn't he on Aquaman?
Oh. His role is so small in Aquaman. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, okay. He doesn't do anything for a check though. I don't believe it.
He's been trying very hard to get his Oscar, is what he's been doing.
I just feel like he's not ever going to get one. It's so sad. Who do you think of this cast in the present Batman movie will be the first person to get an Oscar?
I think Rob with Bong Joon-ho, that project under his belt right now, I think that he's just itching for it. So
I would love more than anything if he does the Batman, a Bong Joon-ho movie, gets an Oscar, and then does the Batman sequel.
that would be so fucking insane. I mean, it's just insane in general that he like his streak of movies right now. It's like Christopher Nolan, the Batman, and then Bong Joon-ho. Like,
because so
Rob, calm down.
He dropped out of that Claire Denis movie. I don't remember who replaced him.
I don't remember either, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, somebody I like replaced him. But what a guy. Like, what a man. Like, just...
It's... His career trajectory needs to be studied. Like, truly.
So I was talking about this earlier this morning on a different podcast. He did what so many actors do, but everybody holds it against Rob the most. He was in a big movie, got his check, and then he's done all these weird small movies. And then now he feels comfortable and he is like doing big movies again. And I'm like, he's still going to go do all these small movies, but like, like...
Obviously, I mean, he booked Bong Joon-ho right after the Batman.
Do you think Bong Joon-ho saw the Batman like before any of us?
He might have. I don't know. From what we know about the project so far is that he met with like someone like Tom Holland also. So I'm like,
he met with Tom Holland?
Apparently, for this role that Rob got, he met with Tom Holland also. But you know what? I want to say something.
They're so different to me.
They are very different, but also Tom Holland is very talented, and people
I loved him
to see that.
It's because he's small. I feel like we hold it against like small men.
He's just, and also all the projects that he's done outside of, because like Rob, he's done smaller movies after Twilight, but all of them were really, really good. But with Tom, he's doing smaller movies outside of No Way Home, but they all haven't been good. Like, they've all been bad.
It's so funny because The Impossible is so good, and he's obviously like a child, but like, what a weird career after that.
he got handed Spider-Man when he was very young, so
I just like
freshly 18.
Like I just feel like people hold it against him because he looks young, and we're so used to like actors playing young that don't look like the age they're playing. Like Robert Pattinson in Twilight, he does not. I know he's like 123 years old, but he does not look 17.
No.
Like,
No.
and we're just so used to that. Like Euphoria. Like, we just like
Yeah.
I just feel like people hold that against Tom. But I will say he is
He was great in The
very
Devil All the Time. Speaking of Rob, he was great in The Devil All the
I
Time, and they
I
have such
don't
a
think
great
he's
chemistry.
I don't think he's good in that because his accent
Oh,
doesn't work for me. But he is good against Rob in that. It's just the accent that like really doesn't work for me. But I also think it's because
he
Rob's
doesn't go
accent
over the
work
top.
is so
Like I was
good.
gonna say, he doesn't go over the top like Rob does. So it like kind of feels like, because obviously Rob's is fucking ridiculous, but like he goes so over the top with it, then you're like, okay, I have to like it. But Tom's is very much like he like isn't sure
Tom's
of it, and Rob is so sure of
yeah,
his.
yeah,
So
that's the thing is he's not confident in it. And I'm like, Rob is so confident. It sounds weird against your
yeah.
but hopefully I mean he's not done with Spider-Man, right? Like he's still going.
No. There's still a college trilogy on the way.
I wonder what he'll do in between. I do feel like the MCU is harder on their actors than most franchises with
Which
like
is
what
why I
they're
kind of worry
doing.
about Barry.
Yeah.
He's in the MCU and now he's attached to the DC movies. I'm like, I don't know when he's gonna find the time.
I just want him to continue being weird and doing like weird things. And I'm like,
He's a little weirdo in Eternals also, so
is he
yes.
I almost had to watch it if it had gotten Visual Effects nomination. I'm not watching Free Guy. I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I'm
You're
not doing
so
it.
real for that.
I can't do Ryan, whatever his name is, shtick. Like I can't do it.
Tyler, I admire that Rob just decided to make up his own Southern accent.
Okay, but the thing is, it's great. That
Yes.
movie is bad, just like The King is bad, and they both needed Rob and his weird accent. Did you see that interview
Yeah.
of Rob for the Batman press tour where they're like, "Do you speak French?" And he goes, "You don't speak French?" And he says it like in a French accent, pretending he speaks French. And it's 1000% the
Oh
King
my
accent.
god.
It's hilarious. He's just like, "You don't speak French?" Like it's
He
so
just
funny.
says shit.
Like
Truly.
it's just so
No
funny.
thoughts, just going 24
I
7.
absolutely love um that one interviewer like asked him about the dead clown and he was like, "What?" And so he's like, "Yeah, I saw that interview." And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And they're like, "Did you lie?" And he's like, "I just say things."
I love that this press tour has been the press tour of one, talking about Sweat, and two, calling Rob out on all of his bullshit.
Every single interview is like, "Well, one time you said this." And he's like, "I don't know. I just say things like because so my friend Carrie did like a deep dive for The Ringer about all of his lies, whether or not they were true or not. So she's been writing it for like 2 weeks, right? She's writing it and she's like, "One of my favorite lies is that he was on Ellen in 2011 and said that he got suspended for
This
setting
has been
free
going since
snails."
2011.
No, so that's the last time he told this story. It was 2011 on the Ellen DeGeneres show. He's like, "I got suspended for setting snails free." So he tells the story again last 2 weeks ago. No, last
Yes.
week. And he tells it differently. And Zoe's like, "That's not
Is that true?
true." And I'm like, he's like, says it completely differently than the first time he said it. And my friend had just submitted her piece for like approval to be published. And she's like, "Why the hell did he tell this story again?" She literally was
He
like,
just like
I need to edit it because now he's told the story again."
uh,
But she was like,
he
"Who
pulled
holds
out
on?"
of his ass for
She
no
goes,
reason.
"It's either a really good lie that he just remembers, or it's slightly happened, like just not the way he's describing, and he just
Yeah.
remembers like something about snails." I bet like the
I
classroom had
think that's
snails
it.
as a pet or something. I don't know. He's just so
Mhm.
weird. I love him so much. There's no one better to ever be
You
Batman.
know, it's bad when today I read something that somebody like made up and they wrote to make it look like it was an interview that he did. And it was like they were like Rob said that he took a lot of inspiration from Sonic and like Shadow's like character arc in the games. Like they wrote up some ridiculous thing, and I thought it was real.
You know those
know
like
it's bad
those people
when
that
I
make
believe
like
that.
those people that make like fake film updates accounts.
Yeah.
Someone could easily do that and lie about something Rob said, and we'd all be like, "That sounds like Rob."
Yeah, he
Like
did.
that sounds like Rob. Like I love him. I worship him. Okay. What did you grade the Batman out of 5?
I gave it a 5 out of 5. It's
I'm
everything to me.
I've only seen it once, but as of right now, I'm on 5 out of 5. I love Matt Reeves. I love Robert Pattinson. I love Zoe. Never
Exactly.
forget, someone told me the other day, they were like, I had no idea Zoe Kravitz's dad was Lenny Kravitz. I'm like,
Really?
what? Like that tweet where he was like, I'm so proud of you was the tip off. I'm like, what?
She looks so much like him.
She looks so much like him. Tyler's saying I liked that he said he'd do art house porn if the Batman flopped. I'm pretty
failed,
sure,
guys.
did he say that right after The Lighthouse came out?
I think so.
Because I feel like someone just brought up the whole masturbating scene and then he said that. And I was like,
And we've ran with it ever since.
we were just like, we kind of saw it. Let's continue. Like, but yes, Leo, I think this is the best Batman movie.
I do too.
I think it was like, I feel like with Batman, because it's been done so much that we've seen a lot of the same thing over and over and over. And I feel like this movie did the best job at like kind of assuming the audience knows things and skipping them, like the parents dying, like all these sorts of things. And I admire that. Like I admire that they didn't explain the bat signal. Like it was just there.
Yeah.
They didn't bring it up.
He literally is just like a one-off line where he's like, we have a signal now.
Yeah, like I just feel like this movie did a lot of things to acknowledge we've already seen this. We know. We don't need to like rehash all
And
these
even
things.
then, like my sister, she's a Batman movie. She's never seen a single Batman movie in her life. And she walked out and you know what, I'll preface this with my sister too. She doesn't care about comic book movies unless they're Spider-Man. Like she'll walk out of every comic movie that she's ever seen and be like, it was fine. It's whatever. If it's not Spider-Man, right? And so we walked out of the Batman. I was completely expecting because she hasn't seen a Batman movie before. She's not like a Robert Pattinson fan or anything. So going to the movie, we were walking out and she's like, I really like that movie. And she even went and seen it twice with me. And now she's also a Rob fan. So, you know, this movie did a lot for me in a lot of ways.
I went into it kind of assuming I would like it, but then I got kind of scared. Like maybe I've overhyped it. I don't think it was overhyped. Like one of my friends isn't seeing it until Tuesday, and she's like having a hard time being online, and she's like muted Batman, and like I feel really bad. But I'm like, you know, I'm not overhyping it. Like I told her that. Like I was like, I don't think I'm overhyping it. Like especially because my friend, she also only really likes Spider-Man. She doesn't like any other comic book thing. And she only likes Tom Holland.
That's my sister. She literally only got into Spider-Man because of Tom Holland.
Because she's 2 years younger than me. So she was like too young when the first Tobey Maguire movie came out. So she like missed that. And then she was just like not into comic book stuff when the Andrew Garfield ones came out. But she like saw the Tom Holland ones. And I was like, okay, like
she's real.
But so she's really excited about this because of Rob, and she feels like it's not like a comic book movie. And I'm like, it's really not. Like I don't think the people that say it's exactly like Zodiac or exactly like Seven are right.
It definitely has
it has like influenced by it, but
it feels
not
much
like
more Chinatown than like Zodiac
that's what I was thinking.
Or Seven.
Because it doesn't really show like Zodiac is like scary. Like there are scary moments in Zodiac.
Yeah.
And there's really only like that one scene with the Riddler that's like scary. Like I was scared. But like Seven, there's a lot of violence and blood in it. And this movie obviously is not bloody for the PG-13 rating, but
Yeah. It's a hard
I
PG-13
don't
though.
think it's missing that though. Like I don't think I'm like watching this like, oh, I wish it was bloody and rated R. I just think it's more like Chinatown, like you're saying. It's more of like a detective movie with no action, and I don't feel like that's the way I would describe Seven or Zodiac. So I understand it takes from those movies, but I wouldn't tell my friends
It
that like
also borrows from like Saw a lot too. Like the Riddler stuff is very Jigsaw.
very Jigsaw, like so Jigsaw. I was like, James Bond probably loves this movie, like loves.
Tobin Bell
He's
is
at
cheering.
home, like he's like, Malignant is gonna get an Oscar fan favorite. The Batman is like, Saw, like he's living life. Oh, love that. Oh man, another gay movie. Love it.
Oh man, Lee Winnell, we love you.
Love. Yeah,
My mutual on Twitter, Lee Winnell.
I love that so much. What if he's listening?
I'm so sorry that you have to see my tweets.
Batman vs. Gabriel in the sequel. Absolutely. So we forgot to talk about this. So before we go, I'm just going to shout him out. There are so many actors that are barely in this movie. One of them is Peter Sarsgaard, and I absolutely love that. I love that he was like, you know what? I just want to be in this movie.
So
it's
good
so
too.
sad. It's so sad. Like when he's really drunk or on drugs, I don't know what they were implying, and he's just like, you know, it's just like so bad, and he sounds so sad. Like he doesn't like what he's into, and it's really sad. And then that's another scary scene is when Zoe almost gets in the car with him, and then she does it, and you know the Riddler's in his car. It's very scary.
Oh my God.
Especially like a lot of the men listening might not feel this way, but there are many moments when I'm walking to my car by myself and I am like, I'm gonna look in the back seat because you never know. And I have my keys in my hand.
Getting into cars at night.
Yeah, and I just think that was a really scary moment. And I kind of like that it was like flipped that Zoe didn't get in the car and it was Guy. Like, kind of love that, Matt Reeves. Kind of love.
Yeah.
And that scene was really scary. I forgot about it until right now. Now I'm kind of scared to go. That
obviously the funeral scene is really great, but we saw that ahead of the movie. They released that. Well, I didn't expect.
I didn't see it. I avoided it.
Okay, see, because I thought that was going to be like the whole scene, and that's where like the bombing was going to take place. But then there's a scene after that, and we saw nothing of that. You know, obviously Riddler on the phone being like, "You have 2 minutes to solve 3 riddles," and I'm like, and that entire scene is so fucking good. And Peter Sarsgaard is so good in it.
They're like, our Batman is an intellectual who can solve riddles under a time crunch. Because
he'd be great at Wordle.
Great. Did you see somebody ask Rob about Wordle?
Yes. Yes. I just saw that today.
It's so funny. Because
and she was like, you guys play really smart people great.
Yeah, it's so funny because when he first solves that first riddle like really fast and he does it in front of that like commissioner, it's so funny to me because it's so like random the way he answers the question, because he does that thing where you like don't know the answer right away, so you casually play it off like I knew it the whole time. Like it was so funny. I'm like,
and also
what a little cutie.
Him like yelling at him to be like, how much is it? And him like Coulson not understanding. He's like, you know, telling him bribes is the answer, and then Batman's like, no, like how much? And he's like, I don't know. Yeah.
And then he's just so casually like $10,000. Like I just has it. Like,
and also him like brushing off. He's like, because obviously Bruce wants more information. He's like, which cases? And he's like, he didn't ask me that.
It's so funny because he's like, I'm just giving up the information he asked for, and he's like, I'm asking. Like it was. So we didn't even talk about Rob's voice.
Oh man,
I loved it. I think Rob is one of our best actors working with like accents, not just like his bonkers accents, but doing like his accent in Good Time is so great.
Like make choices and stick with the choice, and I love that.
I really liked his voice in this movie. It was like deep, but not like Christian Bale. Like I'm sorry.
And it's also not his voice. It's like even when like Bruce, it's not Rob's voice. Obviously, like, Rob has a pretty like not a high-pitched voice or anything, but it's a higher voice than,
Yeah, it's not that low.
Than anyone that's played Batman before. I think even like Ben Affleck, he also has kind of like a higher voice than
Yeah, he
a
does.
lot of men. But Rob, his voice is just very, faint almost,
Yeah.
dainty. Nothing against Rob or anything, obviously. But,
If Rob is listening,
I think it's very cute.
he's like, please marry me.
But like his Bruce voice he's obviously like lowering it, and then obviously when he's Batman he's lowering it even more.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I would have hated doing this for like an extended amount of
because
time.
he talked about doing like reshoots, and he was like, I had to go back and do the voice, and he was like, why did I do this? And I'm like, that's so funny. I love him so much. I can't wait to see it again. I have a child, so getting to a movie theater is difficult, but I'm going to go again sometime this week. The showtimes are really weird here. They're like all day from like 8 a.m. until like 10 p.m. But they're missing that like 6:30 time slot. It's either like 5:45 or like 7. And I'm like,
yeah.
If
I think it's because of the 3-hour runtime.
Yeah, but if it was at 6:30, I could easily go. But because it's like 5:45 or like 7, I'm like, my child will not allow that time frame. But yeah, I loved it so much. If you've seen it, go see it again for Rob. I hate plugging blockbusters or big studio movies, but like
this is a good one to support.
This is a good one. And I think like DC already said something about like supporting filmmakers' visions. And I'm like, we're making a difference, guys, just slowly. And I think like I would see more comic book movies if they had more people like Matt Reeves behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And like Greg Fraser, and like just there are so many people involved with this. I can't think of her name that did the costumes, but she did Little Women.
Oh, okay. I don't know her name either, but
there's a lot of
great
people.
work.
Great work. Not great gowns. Jacqueline Duran. But she not great gowns. But incredible work, and I just really love it. And I want to know who did Zoe's nails so they can do mine.
Oh my god.
Also,
they're so bitchy. I still can't get over them.
I love that it was her idea. Like, so cool.
Yeah, I know, right?
Also,
and Matt Reeves like agreeing to it. That's also very
so cool. Plot hole is why did she only take one cat when she left? Like, why did she pick that cat? I love
maybe the other one was Annika's.
Also, I love when he looked down, he's like, you got a lot of cats. Like, how is that not funny? Who is saying this movie isn't funny? Just say you're not funny yourself. Like,
and Rob is like very funny, and he does comedy very well. So all of like the lines where it's like very dry, it's like great timing. Also,
the first time that Batman does that disappearing thing to Gordon is so funny.
Oh yes. Oh my god, I'm so glad they did that, because like that's like a thing with Batman. And they play it up in this movie so much. They do it like 3 times.
The first time he does it is so funny. And then the second time when like Gordon like realizes it's like his thing it's beautiful. I love this movie. Whoever casted it, maybe we'll make a casting Oscar for
Let
you.
me kiss you.
You know how somebody was talking about how The Dark Knight caused the Best Picture expansion. Then Spider-Man, what's this one? No Way Home?
Yeah.
One that just came out?
No Way Home.
The whole home thing like throws me. I never know which one's which.
Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home.
The other day I called it Far From Home. My friend was like, I'm pretty sure that's not what you think it is. And I was like, okay. But that No Way Home kind of like they did this fan favorite thing so they could include Spider-Man. Then what if let's add a sixth best actor slot for when Rob misses.
Can we please?
And let Rob. No, I'm not gonna.
If they didn't nominate him for Good Time, then I don't know what we're gonna have to do to get him nominated. And The Lighthouse,
I'm gonna break into the Academy.
I'm gonna have to like interrogate them like Batman does, all of them. Be like, what do you have against Robert Pattinson?
I think because Kristen Stewart got in, the next time Rob is really like in the running, that whole Twilight thing might be gone. because I think Kristen Stewart had the whole she's a woman and Twilight thing really working against her.
Yeah.
And Rob doesn't have that. Like,
Rob
I
was
think,
still beloved, obviously, because, you know,
yeah,
the whole, you know, teen craze thing, and
yeah,
obviously he's very
yeah,
the, you know, supernatural kind of like teen movie thing. Obviously, people aren't going to be as excited about the female love interest. They're more
yeah.
into, you know, Jacob and Edward. So she had a hump to get over that
I
Rob
hate to
and
break it
Taylor Lautner.
to everyone watching, but it's not going to happen for Taylor Lautner. It's just a Rob
No,
and
it's never
Kristen
going to happen.
thing. It's never going to happen for Taylor Lautner. Oh,
And
what a
that's okay.
guy.
He did what
That's
he needed
okay.
to do in the Twilight movies.
Remember how they almost recasted him from the first one to the second one? They were like, "You
They
are
should've.
so bad." They should have. That was a missed
Well,
opportunity.
Rob also almost got fired from the first Twilight.
Okay, so my friend that did all this research, he has said off every single movie he's ever done that he was almost fired. He said it about the Batman. I'm like, they weren't gonna fire the Batman from the Batman. Like,
Maybe he's
too
just
late.
more insecure than we think. And like someone says like
No,
one little offhand comment to him, and he's like, I'm gonna
definitely
get fired.
like the most insecure, and I don't understand why. I mean, hopefully, because did you see that clip
Someone
of
so
him being
talented
like,
and pretty.
yeah, that clip of him where he's like, please tell your friends to see it and talk about it so we can make a
Yeah.
sequel. I was like, you guys can laugh all you want, but I think this was really hard for him to do after Twilight and the way he was treated. And yes, he has all this money and he looks like Robert Pattinson, but I do think like critics like really kind of like butchered him, and I think he was kind of scared to do a blockbuster again. And Batman's really beloved, and I'm sure he was terrified to be Batman. Like, also, I keep saying before we go, I gotta say one more thing. But there's this one line that Zoe says where she's like, everybody's only worked up over these white men. And I was like, do you know how many stupid comic book boys are like, and not my favorite kind
losing
of comic
their
book
minds.
boys, but like the gross comic book boys.
Yeah.
They left.
I feel the energy in the
left.
theater shift. Every single time I see it, I feel the energy in the theater shift when she says that, and I look around and I'm like, who's obviously bothered right now?
I need to follow them to see what they're going to tweet about because I want to yell at them. But yeah, totally great line. Love it. I wonder if that was in the original script or if it got like added in, you know?
Yeah.
Matt Reeves, come on the Robert podcast then and tell us.
Please explain to us every choice you've ever made about this movie.
But yeah. So I think next time we need to do a big discussion about all the press tour and all these photo shoots because we have been eating as Robert Pattinson fans.
Absolutely.
We've been blessed. So I think that's what
we've been waiting.
Next time. We've been waiting for this. It finally happened. The movie came out. Yeah. I'm obsessed. I'm so excited.
Truly. That's all I do is watch interviews about this movie all day.
It's just, and every day there's like a new photo from this Wonderland photo shoot.
Photo shoot, yeah.
I'm like, that picture of him spitting?
I tweeted some unholy things today.
I tweeted some things where I'm like, should I make my account private? Like, somebody literally stopped watching when I said that. Okay. Okay.
Oh my god.
Anyway, if you want to see all my filthy tweets about the Batman, follow me at Kenzie.
You can see mine at Rejected Hannah.
But please follow us. Thanks for all the comments and the tips on detonators. Thanks
for all the likes.
It's so funny. But yeah, follow us, subscribe to this podcast. I don't know. We'll see y'all later. Peace out.
Still haven't got an outro. Bye.